Welcome everyone to Team Early Childhood Podcast. I'm Aaron Bradbury from Early Years Reviews, and I'm going to be interviewing experts from children's social care, early years, education and health. And if you could follow us on hashtag Team Early Childhood, I'd be very much grateful. This evening we have got somebody who really doesn't need an introduction as far as I'm concerned. We've got the fantastic Juls Davies, aka Juliette, but we all know her as Juls. Welcome, Juls.
Hi, Aaron.
Hello. It's so lovely to have you as my first podcast guest.
I'm just so honoured that you asked me, and you know how emotional I get over things. Just your introductions started that thing in the throat, so don't be too nice to me.
Well, I think one thing that has really shone out for me is the fantastic work that you've done for the earlier sector over the past 9 weeks, specifically during the coronavirus, but also as long as I've known you, and I know that many other people know you really well. So before we even start, thank you so much for all the support that you've given to the earlier sector. Would you like to just give a quick bio of yourself, Juls?
Well, I suppose it's quite easy. Really, I was just working in office jobs, did lots of training, and then decided through personal reasons that I wanted to work for myself. So set up a VA business, met Laura Henry, she was one of my first clients, and then that's how my introduction to early years, and kind of the rest is a little bit of history really, because she stopped me being quite spiritual and got me involved when she conceived the idea of Netco. So I was there kind of helping her get everyone on the first meeting, and I just remember sitting there in the room basically just being completely in awe. Almost like a child, kind of, you know, when your parents are having a party and you're looking over the banisters at all these amazing people, at like their passion, their conviction, and how it was all about children and being a mum. And, you know, at the time I wasn't a grandma or a nanny, but now I am a nanny. I just thought, my God, to be able to work in this kind and feel like this, I'd never really felt that, because I did admin, which I know, you know, everyone needs to do it, but it's really hard to get quite excited about data entry. You know, it's quite hard to get excited about accounts. You know, it just has to be done. But I just thought, I want some of this. You know, I love these people. So from then, I went back. I had a very successful VA business. I had an office, I had staff, but just from that time, from going to that meeting, and then I just, any excuse, I'd be off to an early years event with Laura, supporting her. And then in 2016, she had her first safeguarding conference, and so I was just so excited about it, you know, because I was just a proper big conference, and I love event planning as well.
I love the food though, Jules. You've got to love the food when
you have. But then you see, because I helped with the organising, I had a say in the food too.
That's all good then.
Danish pastries and coffee to start, you know, that kind of thing, and fresh fruit. So anyway, I was sitting at this conference, and I was running around and doing bits, but luckily enough, I could sit in the front row and I could watch all the speakers, and John Canocken was one of them, and Eunice Lumsden, and Dame Donna Kinnear. And I just thought to myself afterwards, I just don't know how I can go back and work for builders and accountants and electricians. So that was in the beginning of November 2016, and by December I had moved out my office, made my staff redundant, passing on to a couple of them clients, and just kind of took that plunge. You know, I'm only going to work in the early years sector. I had to move back home because I think we all know that early years isn't well funded. So I just thought I'd have to work for a lower rate. not the kind of rates I'd been commanding.
Yeah.
But I didn't care, Aaron. I'm going to be straight. I didn't care. I just wanted to work in early years.
That's so
And
lovely.
it was just that, really. So that's kind of how I ended up here. And then, through that kind of initial 5 years of gradually immersing myself in it. And then I got the opportunity, Catriona, who had taken over as CEO of Netco, she was kind of the one that half talked me into it when I was at Laura's conference, her and Jane Evans, that I should follow my heart. And so I did, as we know. And then the next thing was she offered me a job because Netco was in trouble.
Yeah.
So I started working freelance for Netco to kind of bring the value back to the membership, to re-engage with the members and everything. So that's how and then every client I took on is a bit strange. I have to have lots of, not lots, but a few conversations to make sure I can work with them.
Yeah.
To make sure I don't know, kind of click with them, because I just like to be part of their business. I like to feel invested.
Yeah.
And early years has given me that, to be quite honest. So,
So where are you currently? So you've talked about where it all started, but tell us a bit about most recent things that you're involved in.
Well, just very quickly, just to go over, like Netco, as we all know, had to disappear. And what happened was I started doing EY Matters Twitter chats about 2 months before.
Yeah.
And when Kat broke the news to me, it was kind of like, oh my God, I've just, lost 2-3 months' wages, because I'd said I'd carry on working while we were sorting financing out. And I knew that I had to keep it secret. And I don't know, like you play on your phone, and I just looked up EY Matters, and it was available as a domain, it was available as a company. So I just bought them.
So
and from there to now, I've the Twitter chats are most weeks. I must admit, with the stuff that I've been doing over the last 9 weeks, I have missed a couple of weeks, and they've been fortnightly for but really, it's there's just so much to be involved in. There's one of the proudest things is the thing I'm doing with you, which is the Early Years Academy. Got such great hopes for that. I just can't tell. Well, you know how excited I am, but for you listeners, I'm very excited about it. I wish that I could just not have to do paid work, so I could just kind of sit and do all the unpaid stuff, but bills have to be paid. I'm loving the online conference recordings. I'm loving the people that are coming forward for it and volunteering, and they're so willing to give their time up. So that's been absolutely brilliant. Obviously, we did the first Brewed last Saturday, so that was a big kind of knees knocking and butterflies in your tummy kind of thing. That went really well. So we're doing another one very shortly, and we've got some fantastic speakers lined up. I suppose really for me it's about making CPD accessible and affordable, so that we all know there's no money in the sector. It's terribly underfunded, and I'm not going to bash on about that because it's negative, and there's lots of people out there that are constantly saying that. But for me, it's about finding that solution, and it's about uniting people and bringing them together. So I kind of think I'm involved in anything that does that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Jules. What we're going to do now, Jules, is we've got 6 questions that I've devised that will really help our listeners kind of understand a little bit more about you, but also about how your work basically really supports our sector, our early childhood sector. I can honestly say, yes, you are based in the early years, but there's so much impact that your work does across early childhood, even including the Early Years Academy. So, Jules, question number 1: how do you do it all? Just tell us how you manage to do everything. How do you do it?
Well, there are days when I wonder how I do it, To be honest, it's I have to put my clients first and foremost.
Yeah,
I love working with all of them, but it's kind of sometimes it's like that carrot that you're dangling yourself. That if I get this done, then I can go on to that.
right.
And I got to be honest, a lot of the time it's like once I get into doing the different bits and pieces, it's just like time goes. Very often it'll be late at night when I'm doing things, as you well know by the time I send emails or
Yeah,
anyone else that gets emails off me. But I'm not a television person, so I might as well be doing something constructive with my time. Obviously, at the moment, I'm completely locked down, but do you know, I just do it. It's kind of,
yeah.
I don't ever question it. I just think it needs to be done. I need to do it, and I'm going to do it. So I hope that really helps.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we'll move on to question number two, Jules. What inspires you to do this for the sector? What, I mean, why do you do it? Is there anybody that inspires you? Is there like actually what is it that inspires you to do what you do?
Um, That's kind of a little bit more difficult because I just don't want to give you a huge list of names because there are so many people, inspirational people I've met through different um, events I've been to, different
Yeah,
conferences. I've obviously made lots of friends. I think they're friends on Twitter, social media. People feel they know me. It's always quite strange when someone sees me for the first time, go, "Oh, you're EY Matters," which is always, nice because we don't actually see each other apart from that. But what inspires me? I just have this feeling inside of me that this is what I'm supposed to do. It's um, um, it's just a feeling. It's just I just think it was what I was meant to do, and fate has led me here through one thing and another, and here I am doing it, and I'm just really kind of happy. But there's so many stuff. I mean, I'm learning all the time, but I'm starting to feel less like I'm at the top of the stairs looking through the banisters or over the banisters at my parents' party.
yeah,
I'm starting to come down those stairs a little bit now, and maybe in a while I'll actually feel like I can stand around the edge of the room and maybe hand out a few drinks or something. But yeah, there's just lots of people that inspire me. The stuff we've been doing with the early childhood theorists,
yeah.
you and Debbie prepare so much for that, and it's brilliant. But
You
I
know, we
kind,
worked out, Jules, just to let you know, we worked out that me and Debbie spend on average hours a week, about 6 hours
yeah,
preparing them.
I
Um,
can imagine because what you put into them. Because I go in, I wait to get your presentation, or sometimes even before, maybe like at the weekend when I know what
yeah,
you're doing, and I start looking at different things because I know that you always give me such fantastic links and resources, but I just like to save a few,
yeah,
that I just think, well, that might be quite interesting rather than sending the people that are watching to another website with the Babalek. The PowerPoint presentations, you're allowed to use them. So I
yeah.
thought, you know what, why don't people just click on them and watch them, from here? So yeah, it is. So I can imagine what you do because they're so full of content, so rich. So yeah, but learning about those people, the theorists, is inspiring to learn about things they went through. I love the way you include their lives.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's difficult because I don't want to offend anybody if I
No,
don't mention them.
no, I understand, and I think it's really important that we do that for the early childhood theorists. I mean, last week with Montessori, it was so powerful, wasn't it, Jules? That this was the first woman doctor, in her time, a woman to actually become a doctor was just amazing and so powerful for women. It was
It
brilliant.
was, but the other thing was that kind of really shocked me in a way when you and Debbie came out was the fact she had an illegitimate child, a son.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that was frowned upon in the 60s, really. And she was back in the 1800s, and she was, not only did she have a child, she maintained contact and never denied that it was her child. She might not have brought him up because she was being a doctor and doing what she was doing,
yeah,
but and yeah, it's just about Well, I don't know. They're just inspiring. The ones you've chosen so far have just sent me off into a spin each week.
Well, I've enjoyed them, so.
They are good.
Okay, so question number 3, Jules, is I mean, you've kind of answered this one, but if you could go into a little bit more detail. So why the early years sector? What is it that makes you want to give your time and support? Because I think it's really really important for you to say that a lot of your time is actually given for free.
Oh
So
yeah.
so why the early years sector? I mean, you've kind of hit on this, but
I
why?
think that initial impression when I sat in that formation meeting of Netco
Yeah,
that Laura had arranged, and I just sat there, and that feeling of complete admiration and kind of how the people in that room were so passionate. I mean, they were representative. They were all early years trainers and consultants. Some of them had provisions. Some of them were, I think, Pacey was there. It was in a Leaf venue, so there was all different people there. And I just have never lost that feeling. I've just never lost that feeling of, I kind of almost, I mean, you know what I'm like. I'm a very kind of tactile person. I hug people, and it's kind of in a way that I want to put my arms around it all and make it all right. And I don't think I'll ever feel that it's all right until it is all right. Things that we're trying to achieve with the academy, about the recognition, the recognizing what the profession do, and especially in the last 9 weeks with all the stuff with provisions having to close or remain open, partially open. um, just so many stories. You've got people that are on furlough that are still supporting their children. You've got nursery owners that are kind of got all that stress and all that worry, nursery managers and nursery owners. You've got childminders that have just seen their business going. But the one thing that really comes through, and I suppose this is my motivation, this is why I love the early years sector, and you're right, it is more early childhood now,
yeah.
because I think about reception in year 1 as well as still being that part of it, because they are still very young children. And it's just about that devotion and that feeling that I see happening around me. I see it in tweets, I see it on social media, I hear it when I talk to people. So that initial feeling has never left me, that complete, I want some of this, I want to be part of this, I want to feel like this
Well,
all the time.
I'm so glad that you are part of it, Jules. And to be honest
Oh,
with you, I think you've been a real key player in bringing the sector together, specifically over the past 9 weeks. You can see it on Twitter. You've organised Zoom calls, and you've really, really kind of put, the early years at the forefront of bringing everybody together, stronger together, and it definitely resonates with the community of the early years. So thank you for that, Jules. That's really, really,
oh no.
really powerful, and
I
I
just,
can't thank you enough.
oh, thank you. It's just what I think I was born to do. And that's the only way I can explain it, because I don't know. That's the drive I have. It just feels it's the right thing I should be doing.
Yeah.
Whether I make mistakes or, along the way, but then you learn from mistakes. So,
Yeah, we all have to make mistakes, don't we? And it's something that um, we we have to, that's how we learn, And if anybody says otherwise, I think they haven't conjured the art of reflection. So
probably not the art of reflection or the fact of getting it right, because
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I always think that the lessons I've learned have been where I've made mistakes, because they're like ingrained there in my brain. Oh,
yeah,
I wish I'd never said that, or I'd never put that out, or, but that's in all parts of your life, you do
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
yeah, it's just basically, I suppose it's my love of children as well,
yeah.
and being able to relate it to my own grandchildren even more so now. And yeah, that's it. I just love it.
I'm glad you do. So the next question is question 4. So tell us about your current projects in more detail. So what is it that you're actually involved in?
I'm going to leave the academy to the last, because I'm just going
Okay.
to run quickly through the others. So there's lots of different initiatives that we've put in place. during the COVID pandemic. So we've got the early years buddies. That didn't kind of really take off as well as I hoped it would. But,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, it's difficult to get people to see. I easily engage on social media, I easily engage remotely.
yeah.
And so we put a Facebook group, and yeah, you know, I'm not going to stop doing it though. Actually, we had people register for it today, so I will be sending another list out. And
Right.
the Met Police wanted to be involved in it, and I've never had any feedback from them if anyone's connected with anyone. So that's kind of the early years superhero as well. We've got nearly 400 certificates and badges to
Wow,
post out. I
amazing.
did hear today that the badges, now the company has been allowed to go back to work, will
Good.
be with me. They're being shipped tomorrow, but they're shipping them in from Spain. So I'm hoping they're going to be with me over the weekend. And then my lovely Tony will be going to the post office with boxes of envelopes with certificates and badges in. So we're going to try and get all the certificates done. So we just need to put them all into the badges in when they arrive.
Yeah.
So that's been great. EY Matters, obviously, that's kind of where I feel like I started becoming somebody other than a PA or a virtual assistant, I suppose. I do love that. I love what comes out of it. And I love the way we start with a subject and we end up on something completely different nearly every week.
That's normal
And
earliest for you,
it
Jules.
is, though. It's so brilliant. It's just like I spend all these hours making these graphics for the questions, and then actually, do you know what? I don't even need to use them. They're kind of pretty pointless. And I think I've recognised that more now, which makes me feel like I'm actually learning. So
Yeah,
We My Matters is always going to be one of the things. The online conferences have been totally. I've just really enjoyed that. I think I mentioned earlier the Brew Ed now is another thing. I thinking about it, I know we will go back where we can see each other face to face, but the amount of people that have, I mean, we had someone from Australia, we
yeah,
had some people
yeah,
from China, and you know what? It's really nice to be able to make that world smaller.
yeah.
Um, you know, so yeah, I think I probably will kind of carry on with doing an online version, but not as often. I'm going to look at every 3 or 4 weeks while people are locked down and, you know, they're looking for CPD, they may be on furlough.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I kind of, the biggest thing, the most exciting thing for me is the Early Years Academy. And I know that my part in it is going to be kind of more the administration side of it, but I just get so excited when I think about it. And I just think I've always wanted to do something that people can feel proud of belonging to, that they feel like it means something to them.
Yeah.
And it's all of that. And obviously, you've kind of got that vision of how it needs to work because you've got that experience, where I have the experience in administration and
Yeah.
the love of early years. But just the thought of I can remember saying once to Catriona, we were very much talking with Netco, that we wanted to have some kind of trust or some kind of something like the academy, even
Yeah.
back then. And I just said to her that my dream is to be sat um, on a cliff top somewhere, you know, when it's pouring with rain, eating some chips and just seeing these, you know, kids go past and, you know, with the people that are looking after them because they're going out to see what the seaside's like or what have
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And for them to, for me to know that they're part of that kind of academy thing, you know, that
Yeah.
it's, you know, that's my dream, that's my legacy, that's what I want to leave behind. So that's why
Oh,
I'm so excited about the academy.
I think one. I'm butting in here a little bit because I'm going off. I'm going off the script, so to speak. But I think what's really come out of the academy is that there is actually a massive gap, isn't there, Jules, in
Oh God, so much.
professional recognition. And no matter, and actually even though we've called it the Early Years Academy, it is for early childhood. So again, it incorporates health, education, social care, early years.
Uh,
And that's really powerful, I think, about bringing those sectors together.
I do too as well, because obviously when we started off with the idea of the academy, we looked at early childhood, but there's you've got an early childhood academy in India, the ECA,
Right, yeah.
and so that's why we kind of decided it, because academy seems the right word, because it's not just about having the fellowship, it's about us supporting people to move forward, move on. It's kind of like a feeling of movement, a
Yeah.
kind of feeling of coming together, just something. It doesn't matter, what your role is within early childhood either, because I think that's one of the things, for me, that it's so inclusive. It doesn't matter if you're a manager, or you're a practitioner, or you want to call, you're a teacher or whatever. It's just about you being good and feeling proud of what you do every day
So
and
what are
being
the so what are
sorry.
the next steps then, Jules, for the academy? What would you in if we've got nursery practitioners across the early childhood sector or early years, professionals in health or anything like that? What would be the next steps where we're going to take it from where we're at the moment?
Well, at the moment, we're more or less there with the executive board. We've just got a couple of people to confirm so we can announce them, but it's all been very much. I know one of the people that we're waiting to confirm is she's not just being extremely busy within the sector, but she's also being really busy in the local community. And, so we've just got a couple more people. So, to kind of confirm. And then it's about getting the oh, do you know, I've forgotten the name of the board. The
Advisory
next
board?
advisory board.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you see?
All right.
I'm getting so excited I can't even speak. Getting the advisory board together and looking at the kind of different levels and writing the criteria. But at the moment, if anybody wants to become involved, wants to find out more, wants to investigate it, we have a sign up form on the Early Years Academy website where you can just register your interest, and we'll then keep you updated personally through by whatever means, whether it's newsletters or emails, as to what's happening, other than following the academy on Twitter. But it's just about really getting everything together and getting the platform together. We've been in discussions with people about financing, so it's getting that commitment in place, and we've been looking at other means of financing so we can do it properly. Actually look at going for maybe some funding bids or something. So getting structures together. So when Aaron's books come out, people, please buy them, because we're going to use the money from that and some posters and postcards that I'm creating to actually start getting the funding together, to start setting up the academy as a community interest company, so we can actually look at going for funding, to actually get it up and running, which we
I
hope.
think it's going to really make a difference, Jules. From
Oh God.
even just from the consultation, even just speaking to practitioners today, they're excited. Somebody's actually giving them a voice. Somebody's noticing that the hard work and the dedication that they're doing, and I think it's really important that they're in agreement with us, aren't they? That it's not just about the money. It's not about the money for them. It's about the recognition.
Well, it's got to be, because they certainly wouldn't be
No,
in it for the well, they wouldn't be in early years for the
no,
money,
no.
because many people, guys, that they have second jobs, they have supplementary incomes and what have you, from talking to people. I think one thing, it's always stayed with me. I saw a presentation by Linda Baston Pitt at one of the early years hubs, and she kind of spoke about like why, when you're at school, people kind of write you off, and if you're not very academic, if you're maybe not so good at school, that you can become a hairdresser or you can become a nanny or a nursery nurse. And that really resounded with me. One, because I was a hairdresser in an early career, but literally because after taking 12 O-levels, because that's how old I am, I just couldn't bear the thought. I wanted a year out, so I went into hairdressing because I love the contact with people. But being now immersed in early years, and I look at what they have to know, what they have to study, that continual learning, just everything, that knowledge they have to have. And you think, my God, seriously, you couldn't say to somebody now, well, your brain is, go and be a nursery nurse, because I would just, well, not smack someone because I'm not violent, but verbally, I'd want to give them a tongue lashing, because it's so not true. And, they might not, you might get somebody that's working as a practitioner within a nursery that hasn't got a degree, that hasn't been to university. But my God, I think vocationally, what they have to know and all the information and the knowledge they have to absorb, then they are kind of, I don't know, kind of practical degrees as such, and I just think there just should be more respect.
Yeah, and that's what the Academy is trying to do, isn't it?
Exactly.
So I think, like Jules has said, if anybody wants to go and have a look up the Academy, you've put loads of information, haven't you, Jules, on the Academy website?
Not as much as I'd like.
No, I know, but I think safe to say that what's happened currently, that our focus has been elsewhere, short term, but obviously quite soon we're refocusing again, and we're going back onto the Academy. But it's www.theeyacademy.co.uk.
No, .org.
.org, sorry. So
yeah.
Everybody, www.theeyacademy.org. So it's
come and pay us a visit and sign up to find out about our information, and but I mean, obviously you can always connect with me and Aaron on Twitter, and you can connect with the Academy on Twitter. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is the Academy is something we're forming by the workforce, for the workforce. We are making sure that every area of early childhood is represented, geographically and kind of job-wise almost. Job-wise probably isn't the right word to use, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Professionals across the sector.
That's the word I was looking for. Professionals. So.
Okay, so we've got 2 more questions, Jules. So question 6 is a quick one anyway. So question 5. So tell me one thing that you've learned from the sector. One thing.
I've learned so many things, but I think one thing that has stood out for me, and this has only really been in the last kind of 12 months, well, it's not even that really, is I've learned to reflect on things. If somebody does something, if I do something, I've learned to sit back and reflect on it. And I've also learned, and I know I mentioned this on Saturday, but the brain architects as well, it's made me realise that one thing I never really took on board was the impacts of everything from when that child is conceived through birth, as it's growing up. And it's made me view things differently in probably my personal relationships, as well as any interactions I have with children. So really, I suppose it's that. I think the art of reflection, but also that mindfulness about everything we do. I mean, everything you do has cause and effect, I know, but to actually think about nurturing any child around me, so that I'm kind of thinking, I'm never going to know exactly what they're thinking. You're never going to know that with kids, but, just kind of thinking about, I am in a bad mood today, so Nanny doesn't want to go and get in the playhouse today because it takes her an hour to get out of it. But then kind of thinking, well, actually, that gives them a good laugh when it takes me an hour to get out of it. And that's creating a memory, and, that's a good positive thing. And playing with the kids.
About some really key points there, that obviously you talked about brain architecture and early child-centered development and holistic development. And I know that you when we were doing the online conference of the early childhood theorists, to hear, and you are part of those discussions, aren't you, Jules? It's not just me and Debbie, you are there.
I am, and
And
I'm very privileged.
you were blown away by Brenner and Bavalek and how they basically, intertwined. And that's basically what you're trying to say, is how you've linked to those theorists.
Yeah, how I brought them into my life,
Yeah,
really. Yes, I kind of think it's that, but then it's also, there is just things like when we did the Wellbeing for All conference, it was well, stressful, but I mean, actually sitting back and watching Kerry when she did her presentation, and oh, I found that blew me away, and I came away really thinking from that. I don't like to just kind of pick out people,
no,
but it's just, you have those moments, don't you? Just where you think, oh my God. Well, I have those moments anyway, because I'm still very much learning and reading, and not that I get much time to read, but I still read.
good.
Um, but yeah, I think it's everything. I just think the one thing early years, what I've taken away from it, and I wouldn't say learnt from the sector,
Yeah,
is it's completely opened up my world and my thinking. The more I immerse myself in early years, early childhood, um, it's just changing my thinking. It's changing, from how I was brought up as a child, how I brought up my children. It just makes me constantly be thinking and reflecting about things.
I love that, Jules. I just think
Mm.
that's so powerful. And imagine being that, like that person on the start of a journey, into this sector, and they've just heard you basically say how powerful that is and how powerful our sector can be.
Oh, it
Uh,
is.
that's amazing. So
I can honestly say to all of you out there, in early years, I've worked in many different industries, from the oil industry to the music industry to, I don't know, job seekers, recruitment, HR, what have you, even food distribution at one point. And there is no sector, I don't believe there's any industry like this
oh,
at all, for the people, the actual people that work in it. They're, just the way they are, their dedication, their passion, their love. You know, you wouldn't be in it for the money. That's all
no,
I can say to you. You're not in it for the money, because you're in it because you believe in it and you believe you can make a difference. And I believe so many people do, in every which way they can. That key worker looking after the child whose mum may be a nurse and is maybe feeling anxious because of the current situation. Um, it's just, it's there. It's that passion. It's that love. It's that devotion and that continual learning. You can see that by the stuff we're putting up that's free CPD,
yeah.
that people are so hungry for it. I mean, I'm sure if you said to, not being detrimental now to accountants, I have nothing against them, but if you were to record a seminar on something accounting, that most of them would be like, okay, well, I'll maybe watch it later. But
Yeah.
we literally, when did we announce the tickets? On Sunday morning.
Sunday morning they were gone, weren't
And
they?
they were gone. I had to increase the
Yeah,
tickets, and then by Monday morning they were gone.
yeah,
So I increased it again, and then I thought I didn't want the Zoom to be too overloaded with people, so that people couldn't interact in any way. There was too many people there,
yeah,
and so we put a lid on it. But we still had like over 20, 30 people, even they knew the tickets had gone, that were hoping to get a place, which is why we decided we need to record it, we need to share it so that people can view it, because they were fantastic. So yeah, it's I'm learning constantly. I'm learning every day. I can't say one thing.
Right answer, Jules. That was the right answer. And so, obviously, I mean, I'm going to leave this question to last, but I really, really think what you've just said for me is the epitome of what we do. It's why we get up in the morning. And I've got to say, I've seen such dedication from not just the early years sector, but the whole of the early childhood sector across
Definitely.
education, social care, and everything that you've just described is everything that we have been involved in over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I
So
don't sorry, just want to say, I don't think that maybe people out there that might be listening to this, that may be working within the sector, that maybe actually know the trainers, consultants, the academics, whoever that are recording these continual online conferences and doing the Brew Ed, but they're so enthusiastic about it, and no money changes hands for any of this. So it's not just me and my time and EY Matters put it together. It is them as well. We couldn't do it without them, to be quite honest. And I just thank all of you from the bottom of my heart that you're engaging with me and you've chosen me as a vehicle to actually work with. So I just needed to get a big thank you in there. Sorry.
No, that's lovely. So that leads us on to question number 6, and this is a question that I'm going to ask all of my guests, because I think, you know, if I was the genie in the lamp, which I'm sure everybody knows that I would love to dress up as the genie, coming out of that big gold pot, you know. So if I could grant you 3 wishes for the early years, sector, children, whatever, for the early years, what would they be?
For me, it would have to be the sector, because I think that my 3 wishes would actually bring about everything I would wish for children. So my first one is recognition and respect, totally, for all of the workforce within early years, whatever your role may be. I just think you should be revered, and I think we should have a Tuesday night clap for early years and early childhood workers. I think my second wish is unity, because so very much so we have all different organisations and, you know, we're all kind of trying to, you know, get the message out there. But I don't have any ego about EY Matters. I'm quite happy to support anyone in anything they want to do if it's doing anything for the sector. So for me, yeah, definitely unity, because I think that if we could all speak together as one voice, you know, early childhood, and that with we come from, you know, if you're a student, whatever your role, whatever professional you are, I think unity would be my second wish. And my third wish, which I'm sure is, if I was going for election, would probably be the winner, I would wish higher rates of pay to recognise what people do. You know, maybe there wouldn't be enough money in the world for that though, Aaron. What do you think?
No, I agree, but I do think, you know, even after what we've seen over the past few weeks, I think, you know, early years practitioners have gone above and beyond. You know, we know some childminders that aren't even getting paid, that are still working with the families, still going out to their homes, putting story sacks on doors, you know, to make sure that the children are still getting that early years offer, which I just think is absolutely amazing, and hats off to them all. Absolutely, to every single one of them that has, you know, and the owners and everybody that's stayed up. You know, I wrote a blog the other day, as you know, who's looking after those early years managers and owners.
Yeah, I think you and I spoke about this, and there are people that we could probably mention now, and we look at they're just tirelessly working for the sector, and, you know, because they may be the manager or owner of a nursery, then people are kind of looking to them for the answers, but they don't have the answers because we're not getting the answers. So if anyone from the DFE is listening to this, please can you start thinking about giving some guidelines out so we know the right way to do things, because at the moment everyone's just kind of speaking to each other.
There's some clear guidelines which would be really, really helpful, just something really clear.
So we are trying to collate some from nurseries that have been open throughout the pandemic. And I know Ruth Swales is getting lots of stuff together, so go visit Ruth's website, because I'm kind of thinking maybe I don't need to do it if she's doing it, maybe I'll just share with her. But yeah, we've definitely some amazing people out there. Totally.
Well, Jules,
Yes.
that leads us to the end of the podcast. I'm really, really sorry, but I can honestly say, you know, it's so lovely to just be sat here listening to the passion and the drive that you hold for the earlier sector. And from the bottom of my heart to you, thank you so much for doing everything that you do. And also thank you for being my first guest on the Team Early Child podcast.
I'm just so proud to be your first guest.
Oh, well, I just thought that actually it needed to be you, because I just felt that, over the past few weeks, you've brought so much of us together. And I'm truly grateful, and I know the workforce is truly grateful too.
Oh, good. And me, I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing, because as long as it works, that's why I do it.
Fabulous. Well, I'm going to give you a round of applause.
Oh, thank you.
My lonely round of applause. And thank you, everybody, for listening to our first podcast. The next podcast is going to be in 2 weeks' time. So keep coming back to the website, Early Years Reviews. And until next time, goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.